You wake up, swing your legs out of bed, and you can feel it before your feet even touch the floor. A slight hesitation in the thighs, a pause in the hips, a careful negotiation with your knees. For years, you were told that this is just how aging works, that strength fades like daylight at dusk, and the best you can do is move a little less each season. But biology is far less fatalistic. Your muscles, even after 60, keep listening for signals. Give them the right signal for just 1 minute, and they will begin, quietly and reliably, to rebuild. That is what this routine is about. It isn't a workout plan or a complicated program. It's a 60-second morning move you can do in slippers in a small room without equipment. It sends the exact message aging muscles need to hear at the exact time of day they're most ready to respond. And when you repeat it most mornings, it becomes a hinge that swings the rest of your day open. Standing up feels lighter, stairs feel shorter, and the body you live in begins to cooperate again. Let's name the problem without drama. After midlife, muscle tissue doesn't vanish all at once. It thins. The fast, powerful fibers go first, the ones that help you rise from a chair, catch yourself on a stair, or lift groceries from the trunk. This slow shrinkage has a formal name, but you don't need the jargon to recognize it. You notice it when you add a hand to the armrest before standing, when your steps shorten on a slope, when your legs complain at the second flight and not the fourth. You also notice it in your confidence. You don't stride across shiny floors, you measure them. You don't drop into low seats, you scout for higher ones. The loss isn't only in fiber size, it's in trust, and you deserve to get that trust back. What changed inside your body is simple enough to explain. Younger muscles are generous listeners. A small bit of effort and a modest amount of protein flip their build and repair switch. After 60, those same muscles grow harder of hearing. The whisper that used to work no longer does. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. I prefer a simpler image. Your muscle's volume knob has been turned down. What used to be background noise must become a clear signal. And the clearest signal your legs understand is tension, a controlled demand that says, we still need this strength. The trick is to provide that tension in a way that is safe for older joints, easy to repeat, and powerful enough to reach the fibers you're losing most. Morning is the perfect window. When you wake, your nervous system is resetting its dials. Blood flow is changing from nighttime housekeeping to daytime action. Joints feel a bit creaky from being still. If the first thing you ask of your legs is a careful, specific effort, steady, strong, and brief, you set a tone for the entire day. Your balance checks in. Your hips learn the depth they can trust. Your knees track where they're supposed to. Your heart rate rises a touch, then settles. And most importantly, you give your thighs a minute of tension they won't forget at breakfast. The body remembers first impressions. Let's make yours count. Here is the move. It's called the 60-second chair stand with hover hold. It's one movement performed in a very particular way. You'll need a sturdy chair without wheels, placed so the back touches a wall. If the seat is low, add a folded towel or cushion. There is no meddle for unnecessary depth. Stand in front of the chair with your calves an inch from the seat edge, feet about hip width apart, toes turned slightly out, and the weight balanced over the middle of your feet. Hinge at your hips to send them back toward the seat. Keep your chest proud and your eyes soft on the horizon, and reach your hands forward only for balance, not to pull. Lower yourself with control until you just touch the seat, then drive the floor away and rise to a tall, stacked stand. Hips fully open, glutes lightly firm, knees softly straight, ribs over pelvis, chin level. That's one. You'll repeat the rise and sit for 40 seconds at a smooth, unhurried tempo, about 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up. When the timer hits 40, you will lower to a position where your thighs are halfway between standing and sitting, about the height where you could hover above the seat without touching, and you will hold, breathing steadily for the final 20 seconds. Then you will sit, rest, and notice how your legs feel awake. The magic is in the details. When you hinge to sit, imagine your hips are the hinge of a door and your spine is the door itself, moving as one piece. Let your knees track over the line of your second toes, not caving inward. Keep your heels heavy. Imagine you're leaving fingerprints on the floor with the back of your feet. On the way up, exhale gently as you stand and imagine spreading the floor apart with your feet. This cue helps the hips switch on and protects the knees. During the hover hold, breathe quietly in and out through your nose if you can. Never hold your breath. Use a quiet rhythm, in for 4 counts, out for 6. The exhale tells your body, work under control. When the minute is over, sit back and shake out your legs. If you feel lightheaded, pause and take a few slow breaths. The first week is a new conversation with your circulation. It gets smoother. If your knees complain at the bottom, raise the seat. If your balance is uncertain, stand with the chair behind you and a countertop in front of you so you can touch it lightly with your fingertips for reassurance. If getting to a full stand is too much today, do a hip hinge hover. Lower halfway toward the seat and rise again without touching for the 40 seconds. Then perform a smaller hover for the last 20. If your hips feel stiff, warm the joint with 30 seconds of slow marching in place and 10 gentle hip circles each way before you start. And if you've had a recent surgery or been told to limit certain movements, match the range to your clinician's guidance. The move belongs to your body, not the other way around. Why this specific minute? Because it compresses 3 qualities your legs need into one ritual. The first 40 seconds of slow, smooth chair stands provide movement through a safe range while loading the muscles that power standing and stairs. Slow repeats teach your nervous system control and put your strongest fibers under tension long enough to matter. The final 20 seconds of hover hold apply isometric load, time under tension without movement, at the angle where your thighs work hardest. That combination tells your body to preserve and rebuild the very fibers aging tries to steal. It also teaches the hips and knees to share the work, which protects joints and improves balance. 1 minute is long enough to send a signal and short enough to be repeatable when life gets busy. Consistency beats intensity after 60. The first week is about learning the shape and the breath. Expect your thighs to wake up by the 10th second and your mind to talk to you by the 30th. That conversation is part of the training. When your legs whisper enough, you will learn that you can answer 10 more seconds with a steady exhale and a tall chest, not a grimace. On day 1, 40 seconds of motion plus a 20-second hover may feel ambitious. That's fine. Start with 30 seconds of motion and a 10-second hover if you need to, and add 5 seconds every few mornings until you reach the full minute. If you reach the hover and your legs shake like a leaf, that is simply muscle fibers turning back on. Shaking is communication, not failure. If any pain is sharp or feels wrong, you stop, rest, and modify next time. Sensible discomfort is a teacher. Sharp pain is a stop sign. Progress is a ladder, and you'll know when to climb. When you can complete the full minute at a steady, even pace without losing posture or breath, and when the hover feels challenging but controlled, you can raise the seat a little and slow the descent to 3 seconds down, 2 seconds up to build more control. Or you can keep the timing and hold a very light book to your chest. Or you can add a tiny calf raise at the top of each stand to wake the lower legs that keep you steady on curbs. If mornings are a breeze after a month, add a second minute later in the day, before lunch or after an afternoon walk. The rule is not to chase exhaustion. The rule is to send a clear signal often. Muscles reward consistency more than heroics. If your knees have stories to tell, this move can still be yours. Keep the range shorter at first. Place the chair a touch higher. Set your feet slightly wider with toes gently turned out so the thighs have room to track. Focus on sitting back as if onto a tall stool so the hips take the lead. Start your hover with your hips a little higher and gradually lower as comfort allows over weeks. Many people with creaky knees discover that what they hated about squats was uncontrolled depth and speed, not the pattern itself. When they learn to hinge, breathe, and stop before the joint complains, their confidence returns and so does their strength. If your hips are the ones narrating, pay attention to your standing posture. Tall, glutes lightly on, ribs stacked, so you open the front of the hips fully at the top. That last inch of straightening is a gift to the joint. If your back gets chatty, imagine a string gently drawing the crown of your head upward as you stand so you don't fold forward. Keeping your spine long and your core gently braced turns the move into practice for daily life, getting up from low seats, out of cars, and off the bed with ease. Pairing this minute with breakfast is the small habit that makes it work double. After you finish, your muscles are like a dry sponge waiting for water. Give them a little protein, and the build and repair switch clicks louder. You don't need a feast. You need enough. For most people after 60, that looks like 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast. It could be 2 eggs plus a side of Greek or soy yogurt with a handful of nuts, or a protein smoothie with milk or soy milk, berries, and a spoon of ground seeds, or a tofu scramble with vegetables and a slice of whole grain toast. If your appetite is small, make it modest but real. Half a cup of yogurt with nuts is better than a cup of coffee, and a promise. The morning move is the signal. Breakfast is the building material. When you put them together most days, legs that felt dormant begin to answer back. And if you prefer a cup of coffee before moving, enjoy it. Just pair it with a few sips of water so your body isn't working under a dry spell. Breath is the thread that keeps the minute safe. Older bodies sometimes hold their breath when they work. It's a natural reflex. In this move, you teach yourself the opposite. Inhale through your nose as you lower, exhale gently as you stand. Keep a soft hiss of air flowing during the hover. If you notice your face tense, relax your jaw and your eyes. Think of the breath as the metronome. Your muscles will follow its rhythm. This matters more than most people realize. Breath held under effort spikes blood pressure. Breath moved under effort teaches your system to work with less strain. It's not just a chair stand. It's a small lesson in how to ask for strength without shouting. If you like to measure, pick a simple marker so you can see change. On day 1, notice how many slow stands you complete in the first 40 seconds. Most people land between 8 and 12 at a steady 2 seconds down and 2 up. Write it on a sticky note. Next week, check again. You will likely see one more smooth rep, or a hover that shakes less, or a minute that ends with less breathlessness. If you like a visual, draw 4 tiny boxes on a calendar. Each morning you complete your minute, fill one in. At the end of the week, 4 or more filled boxes means you kept your promise to your legs. The boxes, more than numbers, build a relationship with yourself. You'll begin to feel like the kind of person who shows up for their strength. That identity is more powerful than any stopwatch. You might wonder how this one move affects stairs, curbs, and balance. The answer is in which fibers you're training. Chair stands target the big muscles of your thighs and hips. These are the engine for getting up and catching yourself. The slow tempo recruits the deeper, endurance-oriented fibers that keep you steady through a full day. The hover taps the fast, powerful fibers that aging steals first. This blend restores the spectrum you need: stamina to walk and shop, power to rise and climb, control to sit and step down. Over weeks, people notice they stop using their hands to stand. They stop searching for the highest chair in the room. They stop planning routes around elevators. Those are not gym achievements. Those are life achievements. Let's put this minute into real mornings. Picture a kitchen with soft light. You place a sturdy chair so its back kisses the wall. You march in place for 30 seconds while the kettle warms, roll your shoulders and smile at how small this is. You set your phone timer for 60 seconds. First 10 seconds, your brain says, okay, we're moving. Next 20, the thighs speak a bit louder. At 40, you glide into the hover, your legs tremble like a new leaf and you breathe as if trying to fog a window. Beep. You sit, you feel more awake than coffee ever managed on its own. You pour your tea or brew your coffee, add a simple breakfast, and you get on with your day. 10 days later, you notice you push the heavy door at the pharmacy with your legs, not your shoulder. 3 weeks later, you get out of that deep couch without a small ritual. 6 weeks later, you take the stairs when the elevator is slow and you don't narrate the whole way. That is how change shows up. Quietly, then all at once. If pain is part of your story, let's talk about working around it. Morning stiffness in knees and hips is common. Motion helps it. Heat helps it. A warm shower, a heating pad on the thighs for a few minutes, or a cup of warm tea before your minute can ease the first few descents. On flare days, shorten the range and keep the tempo gentle. On steady days, enjoy the full minute. If you live with arthritis, remember that joints prefer respectful repetition. This move is exactly that. Respectful load, consistent pattern, thoughtful breath. If your back is irritable, think of lengthening rather than lifting. Imagine a balloon at the crown of your head, floating you taller as you stand so you don't collapse forward. If your feet are sensitive, wear a thin, supportive shoe or a firm slipper so you feel stable. And if a clinician has told you to avoid certain ranges after a surgery, honor that instruction and work within your allowed zone. The minute bends to you. Balance deserves its own paragraph because it is what most people fear losing. The chair stand itself is balance training in disguise. You shift your center of mass, you control it, and you return to tall. If you want to add a simple bonus without changing the minute, stand tall after each rise and let go of the chair with both hands for the count of 1001. Feeling the weight even across both feet before you lower again. That single second teaches your ankles and hips to talk to each other. Over time, you'll find you take fewer saving steps when someone calls your name and you turn. And if you ever feel wobbly, remember the setup: chair behind you, countertop in front of you, light fingertips on the counter when needed. Safety's not cowardice, it's wisdom. The morning move is the cornerstone. The rest of your day can support it with tiny, enjoyable choices. A 10-minute stroll after breakfast tells your joints, we use this body. A glass of water during the morning helps your muscles move nutrients. If you sit to read or work, stand once an hour and repeat the hover for 10 seconds to remind your legs who they are. If you enjoy music, put on a favorite song and march in place with knees a bit higher for the first verse. None of this is a program, it's seasoning. It makes the strength you ask for in that minute more likely to stick. Now let me address a few common worries plainly so they don't live in the back of your head. If you take medicines for blood pressure, this minute is still for you. Just breathe, don't hold your breath, and rise smoothly. If you're on a blood thinner and worry about bruises, this is a low-impact, controlled move. If you feel unsteady, use the counter as insurance. If you have a replaced knee or hip, you already know your safe range. Set the chair height so you stay inside it. If you have osteoporosis, the controlled load through the hips and thighs is friendly to your bones. It sends the stay strong message without twisting. If you've been inactive for a long time, start with 20 or 30 seconds and add 5 seconds every few mornings. Progress is not a race, it's a conversation. Your muscles don't need proof of your heroism, they need your reliability. Some viewers ask whether wall sits would be better. Wall sits are excellent for pressure control and thigh endurance. And if you love them, add them later as a second minute. Chair stands, however. Train the pattern you need all day. Down under control. Up with intent. They teach the hips and knees to share work in a way that transfers to life. They also include the ankle and foot in a way flat wall sits do not. The hover at the end borrows the best piece of a wall sit and grafts it onto a functional move. That's why this particular minute does so much work for you. Others ask if they should add weights. Eventually, maybe. But earn your weight with perfect shape and a smooth breath. When you can finish the minute with a quiet face and steady posture, hold a hardback book to your chest and see how it feels. When that is smooth, a small backpack with a folded towel inside can add 5 pounds without stressing your hands. You do not need to chase numbers. You need to chase clarity. Clarity looks like strong legs that don't argue when you stand, like hips that open without negotiation, like knees that track where they belong. The calendar, not the dumbbell, is your main tool after 60. This is also a story about identity. You are not someone who is getting weaker. You are not someone who must slow down. You are someone who sends your body a clear message each morning. We still use this. We still need this. We still choose a life that happens on our feet. That identity shifts how you choose chairs in public spaces, how you handle stairs when the elevator is slow, how you respond to a grandchild's sudden invitation to sit on the floor. The minute itself will make you stronger. The person you become by keeping the promise will make your days larger. Let me bring this down to a few lives that look like the lives I see and trust. Imagine Robert, 67, who describes his legs as asleep in the morning. He sets up the chair once and leaves it by the wall, a quiet invitation. Day 1 is messy. He loses count. On day 5, he realizes he no longer uses 2 hands to push off the seat after breakfast. On day 12, he walks to the mailbox and back without that tiny pause. Halfway. Nothing dramatic happens, and yet everything does. Or picture Elena, 72, who loves her garden but dreaded kneeling because standing back up felt like asking a favor. She starts the minute with a cushion on the chair and a counter within reach. 3 weeks later, she lowers the cushion. 6 weeks later, she realizes she rises from kneeling by putting 1 foot forward and standing as if a chair were behind her. The pattern trained in her kitchen shows up in her garden like an old friend. Think of Jorge, 75, who had a fall last winter and has second-guessed his legs ever since. He starts with 20 seconds and a 10-second hover because fear is loud. He keeps the move tiny but daily. By the end of a month, he adds 5 seconds. By the end of 2 months, he is at the full minute. He doesn't talk about reps. He talks about the morning he caught his balance when the bus jolted. That's the rep that mattered to him. And there's Maya, 69, who believed her knees made her an exception. When she learned to hinge her hips and stop before her complaint depth, the move became hers. She paired it with a protein breakfast and noticed that afternoon energy felt different, not youthful, but trustworthy. Trust is what she wanted all along. You might ask, when will I feel this? The honest answer, in days for energy, in weeks for confidence, in a month or 2, for the kind of leg strength that changes how you move in the world. The first signal is usually a small one. You realize you're not negotiating with the chair to stand. The next is a different relationship with stairs. You use the rail without clinging. Then you notice your posture. You feel taller. If you track anything, track the moments your legs stop interrupting your life. That's the data that matters. Because I care about your safety, let me draw a clear line. Stop the move and talk with your clinician if you have chest pain, crushing pressure, unusual shortness of breath that doesn't settle with rest, sudden dizziness or faintness, or pain in a joint that feels sharp, hot or swollen. If you have a recent surgery, a fresh injury, or a condition that limits movement, modify the range or wait for clearance. Strength is a gift you can accept only if you respect the wrapping. Now I want to give you a simple way to anchor this habit so it doesn't get lost. Put a chair where it reminds you, by the wall, near your breakfast table, or in your bedroom where you put on your slippers. Place a small sticky note on the chair back that says 1 minute. That's your contract. If you like rituals, start the kettle, do your minute while it warms, then pour your tea or coffee as your legs hum. If you like rewards, pair the minute with a favorite song. Stop the move when the chorus hits so your brain links that sound with that strength. If you miss a day, you have not failed. You simply return the next morning. The most powerful thing you can say to your body at our age is I'm back. Because the question always comes, is 1 minute enough? 1 minute is enough to start a cascade. It's not enough to live on forever. It is enough to reverse the direction of travel. Once the habit is yours, feel free to stack small choices. Add a second minute before lunch on days you're home. Add a 10-minute walk after breakfast, most days, to warm joints, and tell your heart, we still explore. Add a spoon of protein to breakfast. Add a glass of water during the morning so your muscles can use what you fed them. These are not separate projects. They are petals around the same flower. Let's finish where we began, with the feeling in your legs when your feet first meet the floor. You can change that feeling not by wishing or by waiting, but by choosing a small, precise signal and sending it most mornings. You do not need a gym. You do not need perfect motivation. You need a chair, a wall, a minute, and the decision to treat your strength as something worth rehearsing. You will be tempted to aim for something larger, and you can later. But this is the lever that moves the rest. It's the first yes your day will give your body. Say it, and keep saying it. And soon the things you thought you had to give up will begin to return. Carrying bags up steps without planning a rest, getting up from low seats without strategizing, standing from the garden with a smile instead of a groan. This is the life you are training for. It happens on your feet. It begins in 1 minute. Take a breath with me right now and imagine tomorrow morning. The chair is against the wall. Your slippers meet the floor. You adjust the cushion to the height that respects your knees. You set the timer. You lower with control. You rise with intention. You breathe quietly like a calm tide. At 40 seconds, you hover and your legs sing. At 60, you sit and you know you did the thing you promised. You pour your coffee or tea and you feed the work you just did with a small but real breakfast. You walk to the window and notice the day looks a little wider. Do that 3 or 4 mornings this week. Do it again next week. Stack a few small choices around it. And if you want company, tell someone you love what you're doing. Invite them to try the minute too. Strength grows faster when it grows in a community. If I had to compress everything you've just heard into one sentence, it's this. After 60, the most effective, repeatable way to begin reversing muscle loss is to send your legs a clear daily signal of slow strength and steady tension. 1 minute of chair stands with a hover hold, paired with a real breakfast and a calm breath. Your body is still listening. Give it words it understands.